slave who became a gladiator. The gladiator who defied an emperor. Striking story. Now that people want to know how the story ends.
Hey, I'm Danny Boyd. A couple weeks ago, I talked about Gladiator, how continuous reconstruction of the script during production resulted in the film's original 130-page screenplay from 1997 becoming, quote, different in every possible detail from the finished movie. How even the John Logan revised script Ridley Scott went into production with contained less than 30 pages of usable material, and how decisions on set are what led to new character relationships, new characterization, plot points, dialogue.
Are you not entertained?
But ultimately, that was about text. What I want to look at today is subtext.
My name is Gladiator.
What a movie like Gladiator is able to communicate through implication.
My decision disappoints you?
And often without any words at all. I mentioned last time how satisfying a line like this can be.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
But it's not the line itself that gets me. It's the moment afterward, when Maximus's comrades surround him to protect him against the Praetorian. Meanwhile, Commodus has been protecting himself, hiding behind a child. That's subtext. That's direction. That's how you show loyalty without words, or how you first introduce a character and make them human.
We're on the set of Gladiator. I've walked onto the set, I'm dressed as a Roman general in full metal armor on those first few days, right? So it's not comfy, right? I walk onto this battlefield, he's got terraces of siege machines and soldiers and horses and this like swathe of forest has been sort of cut to look like it's burning, and there's like 400 barbarians in the tree line, and I'm standing there going, oh my God, I've never experienced anything like this. And he just comes up to me and goes, I'm just going to shoot you, contemplating. I want you to look over to your right, and I want you to see a small bird in the tree. Perhaps it makes you smile. The bird takes off, and the bird will fly away, and I want you to watch its flight, and its flight brings you back to the battlefield and what's actually in front of you.
You know, Ridley is primarily a visual artist. Visual artist that just happens to have the ability to take in the mathematics of the technical equations that he needs to deal with as well. He can matrix a room in about 5 seconds flat, you know. He'll walk into a room, he's got 200 extras or whatever, and he goes, okay, and it's just, it's like, it's unbelievable, you know.
But directing is also about how you combine visual storytelling with what's written, not relying on expositional dialogue to tell the story, but using dialogue to reinforce what's already been conveyed non-verbally and through action.
Honor Maximus.
For instance, in this scene at the encampment after the battle's over, Richard Harris says,
You're the son that I should have had.
Now on paper, when you think about it, that's a line of exposition. It comes in early on in the film, it explains the relationship, state of mind, part of the central conflict, through dialogue, not action. Granted, there's already subtext to that line, the man has a son, and so there's implication there. But what's vital in this case is that everything spoken in that moment we already saw play out dramatically in the previous scene between the three characters in question, through body language and blocking. And to me, that's the marriage you want between direction and screenplay. Expositional dialogue that we don't even notice because it simply affirms an idea that's already lingering in our mind, or answers a question we already have thanks to what's been shown. The way I see it, the dialogue in Gladiator almost never outpaces our comprehension of events, when the direction and the acting
Like a storm.
is there to sell it
As if you were the thunder god himself.
before we even hear it.
You were a gladiator.
Yes, I was.
In general, the acting in this movie, I mean, the fear and disappointment on Richard Harris's face when Commodus is listing his virtues,
One kind word.
it's heartbreaking.
One full hug.
I admit this idea of expositional reaffirmation can be taken too far. Near the end of the movie, we get this exchange.
Because your father chose me.
Because my father loved you.
Which is basically just dialogue reaffirming other dialogue. Pretty much the worst thing you can do. But then other lines speak volumes through implication.
When was the last time you were home?
2 years, 264 days, and this morning.
Okay, now I want to get to something else I promised. Last time, I very briefly mentioned that just 3 weeks before the end of production on Gladiator, the actor Oliver Reed, who played Proximo, died. A heart attack. And the sadness of that aside, how they dealt with it, story-wise and production-wise, it's pretty phenomenal. Because Gladiator was more or less shot in order, what they had up until the point Reed passed away, up until this point in the film,
Congratulations, General.
was all they had.
You've got very persuasive friends.
Basically a bunch of setup and no payoff, which left Ridley Scott with essentially two options. One, reshoots. Now technically, Proximo was an important enough character to the film that the insurance company would have paid out to have them reshoot every one of his scenes with a different actor. But the exhaustive logistics of that aside, everybody loved Reed's performance.
You may begin to love them.
They knew they had to kill him off,
That.
but also absolve him as a character. Now the first part, that was easy. Kill him off, you get a body double, you shoot him from behind, but how do you get his final close-up? How do you show him first redeeming himself, performing a noble act, freeing Maximus? Proximo's a morally gray character, a rascal. He needed a redemption arc, and originally he, not Juba, was supposed to be the one to bury something at Maximus's death site and close out the film. And so, option number 2, movie magic. First, you go back and you set things up.
I'm an entertainer.
This scene originally ended like this,
God!
with Proximo not being swayed by Maximus's plea for help.
I will kill Commodus. Why would I want that? He makes me rich. God!
So they added in a single shot at the end of Crow turning back and saying this,
He killed the man who set you free.
followed by a cut to a shot of Proximo making this expression, taken from the end of some random unused take that they'd done prior. And now between the line, that look, and the magic that is the language of film, you interpret the wheels turning in Proximo's mind. Throw in a couple contemplative shots by taking shots from previous scenes and putting them into new environments, and you add a little more development. Then in this scene where Proximo frees Maximus, they used the back of the head double and a sound-alike for his lines,
Everything is prepared.
another borrowed shot from earlier in the film, and then to button it all up and to show that character development, Russell Crowe came up with this line.
Are you in danger of becoming a good man?
They paired that with another old unused take of Reed from his quarters going, and again slapped it onto the new environment, and the implication was all there. Finally, for his death, yeah, simple stand-in for his hands, a body double for the execution, but it still needed one last close-up, one final line,
Shadows and dust.
taken again from a previous scene.
We mortals are but shadows and dust. Shadows and dust.
Of course, they had no idea when they wrote and shot that line the first time that that perfect thread would manifest. It feels like it was part of the fabric of the story, when in fact, it was just patchwork. And that's just the motto of Gladiator. A team effort and a hell of a lot of improvisation. Just go read the John Logan revised script, the shooting script they had in October of 1998, 3 months before starting production. It's very different, very Hollywood. Lucilla gets killed by Commodus, Maximus survives, raises Lucius as his own son. I'll link it below. And be sure too to check out my first episode on Gladiator, looking at some of the other script changes and story changes that occurred while filming, which, along with the rest of my work, you can now watch, less compressed and ad-free, over on Nebula. If you're not familiar, Nebula is a creator-built, creator-owned streaming platform. It's got no ads, no clutter, and is home both to Nebula original programming. Right now you can go check out the recently released short film Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, written by PhilosophyTube creator Abigail Thorne, along with all the behind-the-scenes and outtakes from the film, only on Nebula. But also tons and tons more exclusive, extended, and early content from many of the creators who have inspired me, including Thomas Flight, like Stories of Old, A Closer Look. Subscribing to me on Nebula not only means supporting me and my work in a more sustainable way, it also means access to most of my content early, watching all my videos in their entirety without ads, and access to episodes that are no longer available here on this platform due to YouTube shenanigans. If you join Nebula with my code, you can get 40% off a year's subscription, which comes out to just $36 for the whole year, $3 a month, if you go to go.nebula.tv/CinemaStix. And for those of you that want to share everything Nebula offers with friends or family this season, Nebula is now offering annual gift cards. Just use the link gift.nebula.tv/CinemaStix to give a year of Nebula for just $36. As always, I'm Danny Boyd. I hope to see you there.